Teen struggles with stepmom's hatred and dad's obliviousness. I have an amazing dad who raised me since my mom passed away when I was 5 years old. He is my friend, my supporter, and someone who I want to be like when I grow up. When my dad first introduced my stepmom to me, I was 10 years old, and she was very nice to me, and he looked so happy that we met and hoped we could get along. They got married when I was 13, and I was so happy that me and my dad had a new member in our family. I thought me and stepmom were getting along until I think a few months after their honeymoon. She told me one morning that we just need to pretend to like each around my dad. But when he is not here that I shouldn't bother her. Honestly, this shattered me, but I agreed because I didn't know what else to do. After that day, whenever it was just me and stepmom, she would say things to get to me, and I would just not say anything. I'm introverted and don't like confrontation, so I just took it and thought over time she would get over it, but it got worse. She would talk about my height and weight and say I was funny-looking version of my dad. I hoped my dad would notice, but he didn't. He actually thinks me and stepmom are so close and she understands me. He looks so happy with her that maybe it's worth not saying anything and giving it time. This year, my stepmom has started picking on me around my dad, and he has either joined in or ignored it. I have voiced that what she says makes me uncomfortable and hurts, but my dad says she is teasing and doesn't mean it to hurt me. Well, right now, I'm at my ends, and I'm scared, I'm angry, frustrated at my stepmom and my dad. Dad was away for work, and it was just me and stepmom at home. She had a party at home with a couple of her friends. I helped set the house up and cook dinner, cause Dad asked me to help out, which was fine. After they ate and just hung out, they were hanging out on the porch when I heard stepmom and her friends talk very loud outside my window while I was in my room. Stepmom friends talked about how lucky stepmom was to have a nice husband and a house, when they mentioned how nice it was that I cooked for them. Stepmom told them that I was annoying and weird, and she hated me and living with me, and couldn't wait till I was 18 to kick me out. I was shocked that she hated me that much, but I didn't know why. TBH. I thought we were tolerating each other, but to hate me, I must have done something. But I can't think of what I did. I've been kinda down since that day, which was 2 weeks ago, and I thought I was past the initial feelings. But at rugby training today, I bursted into tears, and my coach sent me home, so I drove to a beach and cried. I feel so much. I honestly can't describe my emotions. I eventually fell asleep in my car. Now I'm here, hoping I can get advice on how to talk to my dad about it, cause I'm scared about how he will react. I don't want my dad to be sad, cause he does so much for me, but I'm not strong like him. I'm really struggling. Update. After writing my story where my stepmom was taking my things away and assuming I was on drugs, I started recording on my phone, and she said a lot through the door, many things about my mom and me, and just plain hateful words that I don't want to repeat on here. I fell asleep while I was barricading the door with my body when my dad demanded me to open the door. At this point, I don't remember much of what happened, but my stepmom told me I had to leave the house, and my dad agreed. I didn't know who to call, but I decided to call my coach, and he picked me up, and I was a crying mess. He didn't ask any question, but just told me that I was safe, and if I need to talk, he was here for me. I stayed over one night when the next day, Dad picked me up. Stepmom was not at home when we got there. Dad told me we needed to talk. We had breakfast, and my dad spoke to me about many things my stepmom told him, and I couldn't believe all the lies she told him. It was a long talk, but in summary, it was my use of drugs and alcohol. How I disrespect her in our home. I don't do my responsibilities like chores at home. I'm nasty to her when Dad is not around. He asked me why I was acting like this, and if I had a problem with stepmom, I should have spoke to him. I let him talk, and when he was crying and asked if I had anything to say, I was so lost for word, I knew whatever I said, my dad was on my stepmom's side. So I told him I wanted him to watch the recording of the incident that I can send through as an email attachment and the link to my Reddit post, and then we can talk more. I also said I didn't want to be here when he was reading and watching, so I'll go for a drive, and he can TXT me when he's done and ready to talk. He was hesitant at first, but I told him it was important to me, so he agreed, and I left in my car to the beach and sent the email with the video attached and the link to my Reddit post. I don't know how long I waited, but many thoughts were going through my head. I was missing my mom so much, and what if my dad still sided with my stepmom? What can I do now? I fell asleep at the beach spot and was woken up by a police officer knocking on my car door and asking for my name. After confirming my name, he advised me to get out my car and to hand over my keys to him and to follow him to his car. He handcuffed me and assured me that I wasn't in trouble. But this was a welfare check, cause someone made a call that I was possibly suicidal. I didn't talk after he told me that, and all I remember was just crying. He made me sit in the back of the police car until the ambulance came, and they took me to the hospital. I was asked many questions and was evaluated, and was told I was depressed and may have extreme anxiety. The physician did say I might have other things, but will require further testing and some sessions with a psychiatrist. My dad came and visited me while in hospital, and when I saw him, he looked really tired. When he spoke, it sounded like he was crying, and he told me he called the police on me because the video recording I did. He heard everything my stepmom said, but he also saw my cuts on my thighs and was scared and thought the worst. Honestly, I never watched the video, so I didn't know my thighs were visible. After our cry, we spoke about a few things. I told my dad that I don't feel comfortable living with stepmom after everything she said and done to me over the years, and I'm not sure I can handle being around her cause I don't trust her. We spoke about arrangements, and knowing my dad still loves my stepmom, and I didn't want him to choose between us, I told him that I could talk to Coach if I could stay with him, and after calling him, he agreed. I've also been admitted to an agency that will support me cause I am mentally unwell. I have been to one session and waiting on another evaluation to be done on me and some testings with my GP so they can diagnose me. I'm currently staying with my rugby coach who has been an amazing pillar. He has set out some house rules, but I respect the fella and don't mind following them. My coach even set a date next week for me and dad to catch up on. My coach is an awesome dude. I thought of him as just a coach who just wanted our rugby team to win, but when he allowed me to stay over, he showed so much care for me. And I saw a side to him and understand how much he cares for my team. He has a lovely wife, but I'm kinda anxious whenever it's just me and her at their house. That's it right now. My dad lives at home with my stepmom and is trying to sort that out. I have many appointments to get the help I need and a lot of schoolwork to catch up on and rugby trainings to attend. I've taken a leave of absence from my Macca's job. I'm gonna miss going to the beach for a while, but I understand that it's not a forever thing. So I hope that the next time I go there, I'm not crying my eyes out. I'm kinda working on being okay. If my dad and stepmom, after those of you who shared your similar experiences, someday, I'll be okay. Update 2. First catch up at the beach. We spoke and I told him a lot about what happened between me and his wife. I mentioned how she would treated me when he wasn't there, what she spoke to me after they got married and how she was awful to live with. I told him how I dealt with it for his sake, cause I wanted him to be happy. I mentioned to him that I spoke with Coach about staying there until I go to university and then I'll move away, cause I cannot live with his wife anymore, cause I'm not sure what he'll do. I'm never going to try and get along with her anymore. He listened and was crying and asked if I would ever get over this. I told him no and I never wanted to see his wife and walked off cause I was pissed off at what he said and drove back to the coach's house. He messaged me later I was acted like a kid and I responded, cause I am a kid. Second catch up. Dinner at the coach's house. Second catch up. My coach invited my dad to have dinner and hang with me. My coach has a pool table in his man cave and a pool. I was excited to hang and catch up with my dad even after our last meetup cause I was feeling a bit better. But at the same time I was feeling anxious about the meetup, like I had a bad gut feeling, but I ignored it. Dinner went great and me, dad and coach had fun playing pool. Later on that night, coach gave us space to talk. Dad talked about my mum and me as a kid, just things he would tell me when I was a kid and it was just me and him. It was fun, and I really enjoyed our time together. When it was time to go home, I offered to drop him off since he drank, but he said his wife was here to pick him up, so I hugged him and he went. I kinda stayed in the garage and waited for her to leave so I could walk in the house, but I heard her say, "How's the little shit?" And I bolted out the door and told her to fuck off. Boy, was I not ready for the slap my dad gave me. But all I remember was swinging a punch at him and knocking him down, and my coach pulling me off my dad. My coach told my dad and his wife to leave. After they left, I told my coach I never wanted to see him again, and texted my dad we were done. It doesn't end there. Last week I planned to not go to school on Friday and go for a drive up the line with a few teammates to just get away from everything. They ended up bailing, so I went by myself. I ended up driving to a lake and parking up and just chilling for the school day and just drive back home later on. When I got home at my coach's house, I saw my dad's car parked in the driveway and thought I would have to square up with my dad. When I parked up, my dad ran out the house and looked like shit. He looked like he cried for days, and he started hitting my car, screaming to get out the car and tell him where I was the whole day. I thought he was mad that I wagged school, so he ripped the door open and hugged me so hard and cried. I had no idea what was happening or what he was saying, but all could understand was, "I'm sorry and I love you." After what felt like forever, he kinda calmed me down, and I asked him why was he here, and then he told me there was an accident with a kid getting hit by a train, and it clicked. My dad thought it was me. He said when he heard the news, he called the school, and they said I was a no-show, and called everyone he could think of. My mate said I went for a drive somewhere but didn't know where, and my dad said he lost it. He calmed down eventually, and said he would divorce his wife if I wanted him to, but I told him he needed to choose that for himself, 'cause the reason I stayed quiet was to make him happy. If he is unhappy, to make a choice for himself, 'cause I don't want to be the reason he is unhappy, and that now I have to look after myself, and that is getting away from her. And he cried and just said, more sorries. He ended up sleeping over in the same room as me that night, and the night after, 'cause I think he was scared and just trying to deal. I was okay with it, and coached allowed it. He left after the weekend to sort himself out back at his home. I told him that where I am is good for me, and to not worry, and that I'll turn off Do Not Disturb on my phone so I could see TXTs. That's pretty much it, really. I don't know what my dad is going to decide to do with his wife, but I am definitely not ever going to associate with her, ever in the foreseeable future. I love my dad too much to stop seeing him, but he knows my boundaries since I've set them out clear as day, and he knows as much as I love him, I will cut him off if I feel like it's not for me. I'm moving past what happened between me and my dad's wife for me, 'cause I'm tired of letting her beat me in my mind, so I just gotta work on me. I'm currently happy staying with my coach and his wife. They have been amazing and have shown me so much love. They have awesome kids who I have met, and they have invited me to their family Christmas. I feel bad that I feel anxious when I'm around coach's wife, but I'm working on it with my therapist and I have a good support system. I know I want to go to university, but not sure if I want to study commerce or law, but I know I am on track with my studies. I just can't afford to skip any more school.